On page 174, if you look at the bottom of the page, number 1 says, we're going to scroll the document down so that we can see our page, and we will insert a table right here. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that we have the Insert tab open, and then we will click on the Table button. Now the Table button, this is rows, or how many columns we have, and these are how many rows that go down. In this case, we want 1 row and 3 columns. So 1, 2, 3. These round things are end of cell markers, and this round thing is the end of row marker. When you're selecting a table, you can click on this square box here. Notice how mine turns into 4 arrows. If you click right there, it selects everything. And anytime you want to format the entire table, you always have to make sure that all of the end of row markers are selected. Alright, with that being said, move on to page 175, and it says also, notice that you can see up here in your ruler, you can see the 3 columns of our table. Notice that we still have our 4-inch tab, so that's a good thing. Now to enter information into the table, all you have to do is click and type. To move from cell to cell, you can hit tab or the arrow. Now when you get to the end of the row and there's no rows below, if you hit tab again, you'll get another row, and I'll show you that in just a second. So at the top of page 176, the first thing you're going to type is organization, and I am going to tab because that's my habit. And then I will type primary responsibility and tab, then term of service. And now when I hit tab, it's going to add another row. Cool? So to add a new row, all you have to do is hit tab at the end of the table. Now if you'll look at the figure 3-57 at the bottom of the page, you're going to enter in all of that information. So you can either read the bullets 1, 2, 3, and 4, or look at the information at the bottom. I am going to pause this recording while I'll type all of that in, so have fun typing. Now make sure when you're done typing that everything is spelled correctly, that you have capital letters at the beginning of each word, and then make sure you save because you've just typed a lot of stuff. Now on page 177, we're going to make our table look pretty. So all you have to do first of all is we're going to come over here and look where it says our Table Tools Design tab. And we want to make sure that we have the correct things checked here, because whatever is checked or unchecked, it's going to change the way the table looks when we apply our table style. So in this case, we want to make sure that we only have check marks in the header row and in banded rows. So we're going to get rid of first column. Banded rows means that every other row is going to alternate colors. Okay? And the header row is going to be, in this case, the row with the column titles for now. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that your insertion point is anywhere in the table. It really doesn't matter where. And then we want to look at our table styles, and we'll click on the More arrow, and it shows all the different tables we have. Notice plain tables, grid tables, list tables, and then we can grab the scroll bar, and there is even more, and that's okay, it doesn't matter. And there is even more tables down here, all the way down to the darks. And notice as you slide over it, it gives you a description just like for everything else. So you have to make sure that you choose the exact table style that the book asks for. In this case, it asks for grid, so we're going to go to the grid section. So grid tables, table 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's looking good. Colorful accent 1, and there we are, grid table 6, colorful accent 1. And we will click on that. Now, that's what that looks like, and I'd like to show you, if we took off the banded rows, that's how that changes that. If we put on a total row, that's how that changes that. So each of these check marks changes the way the table is going to look. So that's why it is very important that you have exactly what the book tells you, or Sam, exactly what it tells you to have. Now go ahead and save. And then on page 178, we're going to resize our table columns to fit our table contents. Right now it's fitting the screen or the window, and we want it to fit the contents. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that we have the table tools selected, but this time we're going to choose the layout tab. Now notice that my cursor is inside the table, and we want to come in here, and then we're going to choose the auto fit. That is this button right here, and all you have to do is click on it, and then we have our choice, fit to contents, windows, or column width. And in this case, they want us to choose auto fit to content, so we click on that, and voila. So now there's this much space. See, here's my end of cell marker, just that much space at the end of the longest thing in each column. Remember, columns go up and down, rows go across. Now on page 179, it wants us to select the third column. So if we slide up to the top, when we get right to the top, it turns into a black down arrow. When you have a black down arrow, you can click one time and it selects the entire column. So do that now. Now on page 180, we are going to line the data in the cells. So if you look up here under the alignment section, these are all kinds of alignments. The top row is going to be top aligns, but left, center, and right. The center row is centered up and down or vertically, and left, center, and right. And then the last row is everything's going to be aligned to the bottom of the cell, and it's going to be left, center, and right. Okay? Now, in this case, they want us to align, if I can find it, they want us to align top center. So we're going to click on the second button in the first row of alignments. And now it comes to the top and it is centered in the cell. Now we know it's the top. Now look, I'm going to show you something. Don't do this. I just want you to see. If you slide down, you can get the double arrow and grab this out. And notice that the 6 years, see how it stays at the top? I want to show you something. If, let's just say for this one, don't do this, it's just for me. I'm going to click in the center. Now, watch what happens when I make this one bigger. Remember before it stayed at the top? Now see, 6 years is in the center. Pretty cool, huh? So that's the purpose of doing that. Why we did that. Alrighty then. Now on page 181, we want to insert a row into this table. So if it was at the bottom and they said insert a row, you would just have to hit tab, right? So obviously, since we're going to have to do something special, it is not at the bottom of the table. In this case, they want us to insert a row above the table. So we're going to click anywhere in the first row. And then when you slide up to the top, do you see rows and columns section? We're going to insert, and you have your choice above, below, to the left or right. These would be columns. So now we're going to insert a row above. We're going to click one time. And now we have a row above our column header row. Now, in this case, we're going to make this a title. So to make this centered over the entire table, we have to select the entire row. Now, you can either click and drag like I just did, or my personal favorite, remember how we slid up and it selects the whole column? If you slide to the outside to the left, you get a white arrow and you click one time. Same thing, and it selects the entire row. Instead of column, it's going to be row. Now in this case, we want to merge the cells together because that will allow us to center the title over the entire table. So we'll click on this. Now I just want to show you what would happen. In this case, let's see our table. Let's just say our title was title. We're just doing this for grand. If I wanted to center this, y'all don't do this, just watch. If we were to center this, that would center it within the cell, correct? So if we want to center it over the entire table, then we're going to have to do something really cool called merge cells. So table tools, layout, and then you're going to come to merge cells. And now it's all one and it's over the center. So let's do this all together. You have the new row that you made. You're going to select the entire thing, slide up to the merge section and click on merge cells. Now you have one big cell. Remember I told you about the end of cell marker? We only have one now. So at that, we are going to turn the page, and if you look on page 182, number 2, the title of this table is going to be Volunteer Service Background. And if you misspell things, it is okay. Fix it as soon as you see it. Hit a quick save because we've done some cool things. And then on page 183, we're going to change the font of the text in the column heading row. Now this is our column heading still because they tell us what is in each column. So we're going to slide to the outside, click one time, and now in our floating menu we are going to click on bold. Now if you didn't want to use this menu, you could also come to home and click on the bold there. They both work. And I'm going to hit save. On page 184, it says position your insertion point in the paragraph below. Now, just to double check, make sure that you still have your 4-inch tab there. Alright? So, we're going to hit enter one time to give us our blank row above and below our table like we spoke about earlier. And number 2 says type as you requested. Below is my availability by day. And then we will hit enter. Number 1, at the bottom of the page, the first thing it says is to type an asterisk. That's the shift key with the 8. Now, if you do this and hit the space bar, it is going to create a bullet instead of just an asterisk. So it's a little shortcut to bullet something. So asterisk and then space bar, and notice that Word automatically made a bullet for us. Kind of nice. On page 185, it has us type some dates and times. So I'm going to pause this recording while you type that, and you go ahead and pause the recording also. Now, once you get done typing this, double check to make sure all your spellings are correct. Everything is uniform. You got your spacing right. And then hit save, because who wants to type that again? On page 185, at the very bottom, it says to enter more text. It wants you to make sure that your cursor is down at the very last spot. Hit enter, and notice that when you first hit enter, you get another bullet, but we don't need it. So when we hit enter again, the bullet goes away. And that's what the book wants you to do. Now, number 1 on page 185 at the bottom where it says to enter more text, it says to look at the picture on page 186 and type that last paragraph. The paragraph starts with as a mentor for Washington. Now, so we'll type as a mentor for. Now, remember we made that quick parts text, correct? So the next thing it has is typing is Washington Volunteer Foundation. Well, why type the whole thing? Why not just type WVF and hit the function 3 key on the computer and it spits it out. Kind of nice, right? Now, I'm looking at my computer. Notice I have no space here, and I know that I need it. So right now, as soon as I catch it, so I don't forget, I'm going to go ahead and hit enter so that I have the blank line after my bulleted list. And you always want to have a blank line after your bulleted list. So then as I look in my book, I have a comma after foundation and a space. I also would be available by phone anytime, day or night. Please contact me if you need additional information. Where am I? Period. Yep, I look forward to hearing from you regarding this, and that's okay. The computer will fix my mistakes. I love it. And I always swap the O and the R. And I love the right click and fix stuff. So as a mentor for Washington Volunteer Foundation, also would be available to by phone any time, day or night. Please contact me if you need additional information. I'll look forward to hear. And always it's good because obviously that didn't sound right? I look forward to hearing from you regarding this opportunity. So save that, and then you need to turn back to page 185, number 2 at the bottom under the enter more text. Number 2 says press enter 2 times. So our cursor is at the end of opportunity. We will hit enter 1, 2, and then we need to do our salutation or our closing. Now remember I told you that the salutation or the closing must line up with our date line. So here is our 4-inch left tab, and notice that it is still here. So all we have to do is hit tab, and we will type sincerely. Hit enter 4 times. That gives room for whoever has to sign the letter. It gives them room to sign it, and it looks good. And that's the way it's always been done. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have to hit tab again so that his name is immediately below the sincerely, and it's all lined up. So Alexander Samaras. And then we'll hit enter again, and look at that. And it says to save. Now, we don't have to enter again, alright? So I'll go ahead and just hit save. And it's always good to zoom out and look at your document to make sure it looks good. So I'm going to zoom out and we're going to look at this document. Awesome. Now, I do have one thing. I always center my table. So I can't help but wonder if someplace I missed that. So I'm telling you right now, tables will never be set to the left like this. So select the entire table. With the entire table selected, now remember the end of row markers, those have to be selected. If they're not selected, this won't work. It will center the stuff inside the table, not the table itself. So since we want to center the entire table, we're going to select the whole table, click on center, and now that looks so much nicer, correct? One other thing, I always, as long as I have space, if you have 4 enters after the closing, you should also have 4 enters in between the date line and the inside address. It just looks more professional and very uniform. Okay? So go ahead and hit save with that. And then we're going to turn the page, and it talks about printing. Now we don't actually print because you submit everything online, but let's go through the motions anyhow. So to print, you'll go to File and print. And then you get to choose your printer. And then you have several different options here, but in this case, if you were to print this one letter, you would click print, choose the printer, and then hit the button for print. Notice you can also choose copies. Alright, now in this case, don't print it. Kind of hard to attach it to your assignment link, and we are going to move on to page 187. Now 187 is teaching us how to create an envelope, and I love the envelope function on here. This is so very cool. I'm making this bigger so y'all can see it. Now the first thing you want to do is get to where you can see the inside address, and you want to select the whole thing. So notice I love the sliding out to the left. Click one time, hold it, and slide down, and that selects the entire inside address. Now, with that selected, we are going to go to the Mailings tab, and now we can create an envelope just like this. Now, truth be known, most of the time nowadays we create labels, correct? So you could create a single label. You could also create, and in this case this is what the book says to do, an envelope, where you can take the envelope, put it in the printer, and print that single envelope. So in this case, notice what we had selected shows up in the delivery address, because that's who it's going to. And then we're going to type in the return address, so that is technically our address. And if you'll look at your figure 3-76, it's really small, and you're going to type Alexander Lee Samaras. It is really small. 540 Cedar Road, and it looks like Branch Center. Not real sure. 98 472. Okay, Alexander Lee Samaras, 540 Road, Branch Center, Washington 98472. Now, in the book, it tells you to go ahead and to print. Well, once again, you cannot attach a printed document to your assignment link. So, what I would prefer is that you choose Add to Document. So, click on Add to Document, and it says, do you want to save the new return address as default return address? I'm going to say no, because this is what you would want to put as your own address. And since you're on your computer, you do not want this saved. You want your own address on there. So in this case, we are going to say, do you want to save? And we're going to say no. Alright, now the computer is going to think a little bit, and then notice it has created our envelope. Isn't that awesome? And it was very easy. And you probably would never do it like that in real life, but that way I can see that you have created an envelope and you know what you're doing. Excellent. So hit save, and then we are done. I hope you had fun.